All right, it's recording.
Yes.
Hi. Okay, who's leading here?
I guess I'll be leading this one.
Okay,
So,
great.
Stefan here, Iron Direct Primary Care. I'm with Naturopath Marly Jones. She runs Neurofeedback Clinic.
I do, and I'm also going to have you on the Healing Chronic Illness with Marly podcast
All
to
right.
talk about peptides.
Peptides, yes. And so these are the peptides I have here in the clinic. Actually, I usually buy these from the peptide pharmacy, and they have them shipped to me overnight, cold shipped. With this specific pharmacy, they're already reconstituted. A lot of peptides, they'll come in powders, so you have to reconstitute them. This one I like, it's very convenient for patients. And so we're going to go through these, and I'm going to discuss what I use these for, some of the peptide protocols I use, and
Okay.
what my experience has been with these and what some of the data shows on these.
Great. Well, let's start with peptides 101. Like I'm in biology class. Tell me what peptides are and how are they assimilated or work in the body?
Yeah, so interesting. Peptides are kind of like a gray area of medicine. They're not a supplement like a B vitamin, and they're not a pharmaceutical like, say, a statin drug. They're somewhere in between. They're amino acid chains, and most of them are found naturally in the human body. So they can't necessarily be patented. Now, the biggest one that comes to mind that is kind of patented is Ozempic or semaglutide. That's a GLP-1 inhibitor. It's used for diabetics. They have somehow patented this. I think it maybe has to do some way of the injection, how it has these pens and it's injected. But typically, they're unpatentable because they're naturally found in the human body. So typically, they don't get a whole lot of interest from big pharma. So a lot of these peptides, honestly, were researched heavily during the Soviet Union when the Iron Curtain was up and the Soviet Union was trying to enhance their athletes, enhance their astronaut program. And so we have a lot of that data came out of the Soviet Union after the Iron Curtain fell, and all these Russian articles were translated into other languages. But then we have, since then, we've been seeing some studies, not a whole lot of interest in them from the mainstream. They're used mostly, honestly, by bodybuilders, and athletes have been on the cutting edge of using these. And now functional medicine, certain functional medicine institutes are interested in these. The American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, they have a peptide course. Age management, which I'm actually going there next week. They're going to have a session on some growth hormone peptides.
Right.
So they're entering the integrative functional medicine sphere as well.
So the research that happened after the fall of the Iron Curtain that kind of leaked, was it primarily done on athletes, or were they looking at anti-aging at that time too?
No, I think they were looking at how to enhance their soldiers, enhance their athlete program, and their cosmonaut program as well.
Right.
But they have actually been using, like, one that comes to mind that they've been using extensively is Semax Selank. And this is a peptide that can be given intranasally or injection form, and it can be used post-stroke to help with perfusion of the brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Incredible healing capabilities, but naturally occurring in the body. So
yes,
what would cause someone besides age? Obviously, human growth hormone and things like that kind of slow down as we age.
Yes.
But so what are some factors? Is that environmental toxins, lifestyle, etc., that inhibit healthy levels of this that we would need to quote unquote supplement it?
Yeah, so depends which one you're talking about. So if you're talking about things like thymosin beta 4, so thymus, peptides, the thymus gland, it's not supposed to actually exist past like the neonate or the developing child. But thymus peptides have fantastic applications for the immune system and healing. And so we use some of these peptides for, obviously, immune system and healing in patients in certain protocols.
Right.
Growth hormone, yes, it does decline with age. There's different modalities how to improve growth hormone. Sauna therapy can improve growth hormone, actually. Fasting can improve growth hormone. And then peptides that stimulate the pituitary to release growth hormone. These are things like, we have it here, CJC ipamorelin, which is a blend of two growth hormone releasing peptides that stimulate the pituitary to release growth hormone. Supposedly it's a little bit longer lasting. In practice, I have not found it to be long lasting. Patients who say they find a benefit from it need it every day.
Really?
And they actually enjoy it mostly at night. So that growth hormone release at night helps with sleep tremendously.
Right.
I have several patients age 50 plus who use specifically the CJC ipamorelin injection subcutaneously at night, and
Best sleep
fantastic.
they've had.
Best sleep they've
Yeah,
had in
and
years.
they wake up very refreshed and
Wake up refreshed, and then the other benefits they notice is that they can train harder. Their muscles aren't as sore the next
Right.
day.
Recovery time is shortened.
Joints feel better. Arthritis in the joints is melting away.
Everybody needs
Everything feels good. And then they notice even their skin starts to look good. I saw the patient the other day, and I was like, wow, your skin looks so much better. Well, it helps with collagen synthesis.
Right, okay.
And so obviously collagen in the skin. Collagen is found in our arteries, so it potentially help with that repair mechanism for cardiovascular disease. There's some suggestion that the peptides, you can only use them for a certain amount of time.
Right.
Dr. Pierre Cloutier, the way he described growth hormone peptides to me, he's a French Canadian. He says it's like a lemon. You squeeze the lemon, and there's only so much you can squeeze the lemon before
you need a new lemon.
before they don't work so much. So typically you'll cycle on and off of these.
Okay.
But with CJC ipamorelin, I typically play it by ear with patients. If it's still working, if they're still feeling that benefit, they can continue it.
Does it do a reset in the body at all where it would?
No, but it seems to have some sort of therapeutic window towards, I guess, where a point it no longer works. And so you need to cycle off of it.
Right.
There's another one that we sometimes use. It's MK677. This is only orally available growth hormone peptide. It's a secretagogue, but we don't use it too much because there's some level of glucose intolerance that can happen with this. It can raise blood sugar a little bit. So, and the other side effect, which can be a positive if this applies to you, is it can stimulate appetite. Well, it stimulates appetite a lot. So a bodybuilder will use it because it helps them eat more food.
Right.
So, but not always usually what patients of mine need, unless they do have some sort of wasting disease, they just can't eat enough. Then this could be real beneficial for them. And I do have patients like that as well.
And so why is that not injectable? Does it have to go through the whole process to be effective?
Yeah, I've never seen MK677 injectable. It's always orally available.
Okay.
Yeah. CJC ipamorelin, this comes sometimes in lozenges. I've experimented with that. No effect.
Really?
Yeah. So a lot of the peptides, they're a delicate amino acid chain. And once it hits the stomach acidity, it's destroyed.
Yeah.
Useless then.
Right.
They have to, unfortunately, be injected subcutaneously.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so last fall I came to see you because I fell and herniated my back, and I did the thymus, and then I did the BC?
BPC. You did thymosin beta 4 and BPC 157.
All right, tell us about those.
Yeah, so we use these commonly for repair, ligaments, tendons. Even meniscal injuries. I've actually injected these intra-articularly into meniscal tears.
Right, into the location.
Yeah, and actually fantastic benefits. I've had patients who were locked into like a 45-degree angle, couldn't move their knee, and then we do 1 or 2 injections and their knee's better.
Better steroids.
Better than steroids, yeah. Well, steroids, what do the steroids do? They're anti-inflammatory. They're catabolic, right? Unfortunately, cortisol and too much cortisone, it actually breaks down tissues. Muscle atrophy, ligaments, tendons, they all weaken. Peptides are the opposite. They help repair. Right? So I like these a lot better than injecting people with steroids. Besides that, specifically the thymosin beta 4, it has a lot of immune properties, so you can see the immune system improve. BPC 157, it also helps with nerve regeneration.
Very nice.
Yeah, so people with nerve injuries.
Issues,
Yeah. We're also using BPC 157 intranasally. I'm using it in post-concussion syndrome.
Very nice. Yeah, readily available too.
Yeah, right to the brain. That along with synapsin, which is NAD, and RG3, which is a ginseng extract, and a bit of a B vitamin. I use that also for my post-concussions.
Ginseng, that's so cute.
Yeah.
You're so German.
Ginseng. I also use BPC 157 orally. So the reason I use it orally is because it's actually found in gastric secretions. Yeah, so it's a peptide found in the human stomach.
Right.
In animal stomachs, you can actually get it naturally if you eat tripe. So that's
yummy. Yeah.
Cow intestine, cow stomach. Sure, you can get enough, maybe not enough, but you can get BPC 157 naturally that way too.
Right.
But we use it for patients with inflammatory bowel diseases, Crohn's, colitis.
Right.
We see fantastic benefits with healing ulcers even.
Right.
stomach ulcers. Yeah, I've put multiple patients on BPC 157 plus an herbal protocol from Biocidin.
Yep.
We do a month of that.
Yep.
We see all sorts of improvements in the gut. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So both injectable for athletic injuries and then orally for gut inflammation, and we can see vast improvements.
So do you know the specifics on the properties on how I'm guessing it's very helpful for autoimmune and pathogenic issues. How does it calm the inflammatory response? Do you know?
How does it calm it? I don't think it's quite clear how it calms it. Possibly has to do with that collagen repair. It's very anti-inflammatory. My sister's used it multiple times for shoulder injury from tennis.
Right.
Other injuries from tennis, we give her a couple injections. She just noticed these.
Does she do it in the area that's hurting?
We'll do it right into the area of injury.
That's probably what I need to do because I was doing it.
You can do it subcutaneously for a systemic effect, but a lot of athletes, like recently I tore my biceps and I was injecting it right into my biceps every day to try to heal it.
Okay. What's the shelf life? Because I want to know if mine are still good. It's been in the refrigerator.
Typically, there's a good to date. So this one's good for a couple months here.
Right.
When it's reconstituted. But I think if you keep it in the fridge, you don't shake it, you don't put it in the sun,
you're okay.
It should be okay.
So any warnings if it has expired? It's just not effective. It's not like
probably not effective. Like if you set it in the sunlight and you shake it real hard. It's delicate. Again, the delicate amino acids.
Right.
They don't survive shaking in sunlight.
How are they sourced?
Sourced?
Yeah.
We get them from compounding pharmacies. They're sourced synthetically.
So it is lab made.
It is lab made, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. What else you got on the table here?
Yeah, so we've got GHK copper. This is a copper peptide. Copper is another thing that's also kind of depleted with age.
That's a big buzz with people too, is copper therapy.
Correct. So dermatologists, high-end dermatology clinics are using topical copper peptides for the face. Yeah. This injectable peptide is great for angiogenesis, so blood vessel formation, and again with healing, so repairing tissue. Right. And we can use it sometimes along with our Wolverine protocol, which is what I call the BPC 157 and thymosin beta 4. To help accelerate healing. You add a little bit of a growth hormone peptide to that. I mean, that'd be fantastic for healing.
And this, if you're injecting the copper, it doesn't mess with the other trace mineral levels? Do you have to supplement more magnesium? How does that work?
So my mom was actually doing this one recently, and she was doing it every day for a while, and she started actually noticing a bit of a coppery taste in her mouth. So I think she actually maybe saturated herself. I mean, she just didn't need that much. You can, again, use it topically, and you can actually use BPC 157 topically as well. And I sometimes will get these compounded for non-healing wounds.
Right.
I had this patient.
That's fascinating.
You had this patient. She was visiting her grandmother or mother in Poland, who had this non-healing ulcer, as a stasis ulcer from sleeping. She wasn't able to move. So I got her a topical BPC 157 compound. She brought it over there and was applying it daily, and the wound started healing up. And it was amazing to see that happening. Super cool.
So would you take your little vial and extract it with a needle and then just rub it on the area that hurts?
No, it's specifically compounded in a cream form.
It's for a cream
if you're
form.
Using it for a wound.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. A little bit different. I was trying to see if I could still use mine.
No, injectable.
I don't love needles. I'll just be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Get a thin needle. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
What else do we have here? Oh, let's talk about these. So my sleep protocols for people. Nice. A lot of people suffer with difficulty sleep.
The majority of the population.
Majority of the population. So I have a lot of protocols for that. I mean, obviously optimizing hormones for men, testosterone, women, testosterone too. Progesterone for women, fantastic for sleep.
Yeah.
And then growth hormone peptides. You inject that at night. We see fantastic for sleep. But if all that isn't working, we move on to the next step. And so one of the next steps is epitalon. Epitalon is a pineal gland amino acid. Epitalon potentially can lengthen life. It lengthens the telomeres.
My telomeres are going to grow?
Your telomeres can
lengthen. Tap me a keg.
Very antioxidant potential. But the very interesting part is it resets your melatonin secretion of the pineal gland.
Okay.
So suggestion with this is do a couple cycles of this to reset that pineal gland and proper melatonin excretion which oftentimes can be dysregulated with age or for
Yeah,
one
for
reason
sure.
or
Just
another.
stress in general. Yep.
And several times this has been a game changer for people's sleep.
Mm-hmm.
This, potentially with combination of growth hormone peptides, has helped people achieve sleep again. If that,
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how that works on just on a brain level as far as focus and being able to experience life in a richer way. Because when people balance and open their pineal gland and all that activity, they have a heightened level of spirituality experience. Just
yeah.
curious.
Well, it's not considered a nootropic. There's
Mm-hmm.
nootropic peptides I use. There's one I've had
Mm-hmm.
2 patients use. It's called cerebrolysin.
Mm.
This one's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much. Patients
Mm-hmm.
describe like razor focus.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's injectable peptide as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
Semaxolent can also work for nootropic purposes,
Mm-hmm.
increasing perfusion to the brain. So you can
Mm-hmm.
see some nootropic ability with that too.
So you had a patient here that's trying to get off opiate medications. Why not try that?
Interestingly, BPC 157 has some potential towards resetting the brain.
Right.
So patients who have been on Xanax or these benzodiazepines,
Mm-hmm.
this can potentially reset the brain
Right.
from those addictive substances. And
Right.
I've used it for that purpose and gotten people off of Xanax
Right.
specifically.
How many treatments? Because the whole issue with a lot of those type of therapies where they have to work with a shaman or how do you pronounce it?
Shaman?
Shaman.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody says a little bit different depending on where you're from. To me, though, whether you do an ayahuasca or any of those type of things, they're extremely stimulating to the body, which is very hard on your nervous system. But on the other side, everyone's like, oh, that was great. But this would be a more gentle approach.
Yeah.
How many series of these would people need to really feel like they flipped that and regulated that switch and felt freedom?
Epitalon, you'll notice it typically on the first injection for
That's
sleep.
fantastic.
Yeah, if you're having sleep issues,
you better stock that.
Oh, it's fantastic. The dose range is anything where between like 0.1 ml up to like 1 milligram. Some of the Russian research suggests 1 milligram, but I've seen patients with 0.1 mil. So this looks like a speck of dust. You get an effect from that.
Right.
Yeah.
Really.
It hits, you notice it.
That's fantastic. So razor sharp focus, but any of those things that might have been plaguing people like trauma loops could potentially resolve, you think?
Trauma loops, I haven't seen that successful. Well, I haven't used it actually for trauma, PTSD. Haven't used that. I use different therapies. So the cold forge I have here, I do ketamine lozenges for that.
Right.
And then obviously send them to neurofeedback, send them to
I'm just curious to see
healing.
How that would work. So keep a log on it with your
I do, yeah. I keep journals with all these experiences. Right. Now, if sleep is really resistant, we use something called the DSIP, the Deep Sleep Inducing Peptide. And it's actually quite unclear how this one works, but it works for some patients. And they can experience deep sleep again.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
And so these two, I have these. This is thymosin alpha 1. It's a different peptide. Different than this one is being researched for severe immunosuppression, AIDS. We're talking severe immunocompromised patients. I had this one patient the other day. She is severely asthmatic. She'll get like 6 asthma attacks a day. She's been on a Symbicort, budesonide, albuterol. She's had this for years. I think she has a bit of a fungal mold illness. Thymosin alpha 1. She doesn't get any asthma attacks when she injects this.
How long does it last?
About 3 days. So 3 days, she'll inject 1.5 milligrams every 3 days.
And still on the same protocol for medications?
No, she doesn't need them.
She knocks that out.
She doesn't need Symbicort or the inhalers.
Yeah.
So we also use this for EBV, Epstein-Barr virus, these conditions where the immune system isn't keeping this virus under control.
Right.
I've used it also in long COVID syndromes. So thymosin alpha 1 has a lot of applications towards regenerating your immune system.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yes, sir.
This one's pretty wild. This is called melanotan 2.
Is this the best for last? What's the deal here?
This one's an interesting one. Bodybuilders like this one as well because it tans you.
Oh, stop it. Oh, it's got melanin in it. Okay, I see
that. It will tan you. It will give you a tan even if you don't go out in the sunlight.
You don't even have to juice 40 pounds of carrots a day, huh?
No.
Okay.
The other interesting thing is it stimulates arousal.
Oh.
So it'll increase sexual interest, libido. So very potent for that.
Same amongst men as it is
And women.
Same
Yeah.
response. Okay.
Same response. So melatonin's a curious little one.
It is a curious little one. Interesting.
And let's think of the other ones. We covered a lot of the common ones I use. We talked a bit about cerebrolysin, the nootropic, a bit of Semax-Solank. But that pretty much covers, there's a lot of peptides. There's probably about 200 synthesized ones, maybe 2,000 known peptides.
Right.
We talked a little bit about the semaglutide, Ozempic. That's been very popular recently. And hopefully they become more popular. I think semaglutide may actually pave the way where people start, hey, wait, peptides are real. They actually work. And then we might see this enter the mainstream a little bit more.
Right. You know, I actually remember a patient that came in for neurofeedback that was working with you that lost a lot of weight. And they were on metmorphin and all of that stuff. And I'm guessing you had them on that peptide therapy.
Yeah, semaglutide is great for weight loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so let's talk bodybuilders. Bodybuilding, is this stuff for natty people?
So BPC 157 is banned by the WADA.
Okay. What does WADA stand for?
The World Anti-Doping.
Gotcha. So it covers whether it's lifting or all kinds of.
Yeah, it's banned in the NFL, etc.
Got it. Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, I like it. It helps with healing. I don't know why you wouldn't want to use it in athletes who are getting traumatic brain injuries and injuring themselves all the time.
Right. Just because of the competitive edge, I guess it doesn't keep everything at the level playing field.
I mean, you're sending athletes out there to get injured. You should help them repair themselves.
No, I agree.
What else? A lot of the growth hormone peptides are banned.
Yeah.
I don't think the thymus peptides are banned.
So how would you know which ones are and which ones aren't?
Yeah, it's on a list.
It's all on a list, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So would this be the the last one you talked about? Would that be as effective does it raise T levels?
No, it
estrogen,
doesn't.
Estrogen, any of that?
Melanotan doesn't.
How does that response, the libido response, work then if it's not
erections in men?
Like just changing hormone levels?
No, it will increase erections in men, and then women will experience increased arousal states. Yeah.
But it doesn't change their hormone levels?
No.
That's fascinating.
No. It has a lot of different effects on the body that are unclear. I think it was originally studied. Well, how was it originally studied? I think it was originally studied for like tanning or something randomly, and they noticed like as a side effect, oh, they're getting erections, and they're
right. It's not just because they had that golden glow.
No, that was like one of the known side effects of it is like you're gonna have higher libido. So okay, this is weird.
Right. Interesting. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So is peptide therapy for your average patient or your peak performance athlete? Who do you recommend it to?
I use it on all patients. So, I get high performance businessmen who come to me and they need that cutting edge. So they're interested maybe in cerebrolysin or a nootropic.
Right.
I have patients that come to me with non-healing injuries and they're trying to avoid going to the orthopedic surgeon for a meniscal tear or that labral repair or rotator cuff.
Right.
And they're interested in trying an alternative. I'm like, let's give it a go. If we can avoid surgery, sure, why not? It can't hurt. These really can't hurt.
Right.
And then, if patients who, they come to me with chronic gut disorders, gut inflammation, colitis, a lot of people have that.
Yeah.
We cycle them through some BPC 157 and see if it helps heal your gut.
Sure. Right.
Better than going to get on the immunomodulatory DMARDs to help with colitis or Crohn's. We try to heal it with herbs and peptides. So it's for patients who are interested in obviously a bit of an experiment, right? These are not FDA approved. They're a bit experimental. So if you have a patient who's willing to think outside the box and say, hey, we're going to look at this kind of like an experiment. We're going to keep track of what's going on. And then we do it.
Right. Yeah. With using a functional med practitioner to oversee it, because you shouldn't self.
Yeah, so you can get these all online.
Right.
I prefer to get them from compounding
Reputable.
pharmacies,
Mhm.
you know, these compounding pharmacies at least are FDA inspected. They get inspected regularly, so you know that you're going to get a pure product.
Right.
Um, so that's what I recommend, obviously.
So you've got the injectable, some of the oral, and then the lozenges. But I mentioned to you about the patches that I just learned about, and
Yeah.
that's kind of a newer thing. I'm just going to deep dive into that later once I learn a little bit more about it.
Don't know about patches. Like, the difficulty is getting these inside
Into
the body.
bloodstream. Yeah.
Right, and the only two orally available ones are MK677 and BPC157.
Mm-hmm.
All the rest need to be injected subcutaneously.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And for a good systemic effect. So, what is the realm of you able to help people with peptide therapy? Your practice is in the state of Florida.
Mhm.
So how does that work if other people, because I have listeners from all over the place. So.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I'm only licensed to practice in the state of Florida, but I mean, Dr. Tinney, he's licensed in a couple other states, and he's really into peptides too. He loves them.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
he uses them for all sorts of applications too.
Okay. So is it a prescription based?
Yes.
It is. Okay. So it would have to be the state that you're licensed in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What if somebody from out of state came to visit you?
Yeah,
and
sure.
flew in, then you can treat them.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, this is great to be on the cutting edge and learning some things. You know, it's different because you've grown up other places and not done the traditional medical model, which I think people are starting to come around to, seeing that they want a little more. When I first moved here in 2014, there was one functional med doctor here and 2-year waiting list.
Mm.
And so finally things are starting to open up and things are really available. And your clinic here is awesome because you offer, tell us about your other therapies that you have.
Oh, we're creating this thing. I call it the Human Performance Arena, and we have the Morozco Cold Forge, which is an ozonated cryo pool that gets down to actually freezing
And I
temperatures.
didn't know you put ozone in there. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it
Okay.
circulates ozone.
Okay.
Like 1 hour a day,
Didn't know that.
it'll filter all the water and ozonate it. It generates ice, so it's actually a real deal cold.
Okay.
We have the traditional barrel sauna out there. You know, I'm trying to create what's called a Kurort, which is a German word for a healing resort or spa. Very common in Germany.
Like a Nordic spa that I went to in Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in Germany, you would send a sick patient to these spas and they would get all these therapies. I'm getting it here in Indialantic. So we're going to get, we'd also have a turf area, a little bit of a gym area out there. We're going to get a hyperbaric chamber. So
patients, which I'm very excited about.
Patients can use all these really cool regenerative technologies quite affordably, honestly. We're going to put it in a subscription model. So kind of changing the concept. Typically, functional medicine is like very expensive fee per service.
Right.
My whole approach has been a subscription model, make it affordable so that the average person can access high-end therapies.
Well, something that I think that is also very beautiful that I don't know if it's been a consideration of you, when I went deep diving trying to understand like what cultural groups live the longest and were the healthiest, which religious groups actually were the healthiest, lived the longest. And I studied a lot of centenarians in Blue Zone. They all are from different parts of the world. They all eat different diets, but the common denominator with all of that was community. So not only are you building a practice that has a subscription base, you're going to be building a community.
It is a community.
Yeah, and I think that's the most powerful part of the healing puzzle.
Yeah.
Personally. Yeah.
Fantastic. Cool.
So awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to cold plunge.
Yes.
Stay tuned.